cigarette?
No, but I'll take one. I made sure the door was closed. Yep. Sorry about the vomit. I used up all of my water trying to dilute it. Did you get all that metal back here? I thought you'd be gone longer. I figured you'd be back around 2 a.m. What time is it now? 1 a.m. Yeah.
I got stuck behind the slow motherfucker that went down the way.
Yeah.
I even went to the 5-foot rule. 5 feet off the button.
Well, that just makes you an idiot and unsafe on the road.
I have shit to do and sleep to try to get.
Yeah, me too. But I need help. I was just speculating on whether or not you're on mood stabilizers.
Me?
Yeah.
Why?
Because you smile at weird times.
I just try to be happy.
Yeah, some of the shit that you smile at, though, ain't happy shit.
Like what?
Like some of the trauma shit that I've gone through. I guess some people laugh at funerals, huh? But yeah, that would have been my guess. Do what?
Yeah, I'm on a mood stabilizer.
Yep. I can't take mood stabilizers because they put me on depressed and keep me there.
You want to know something?
No.
I haven't taken a pill since I was 11 years old.
Since you were 11?
Well, you know, like ibuprofen, Tylenol, and I used to take a lot of oxy.
I quit taking pills December 14th, 1997, with few exceptions.
Yeah, they used to have me all jacked up when I was in foster care.
Yeah. Well, that's most of us in foster care's experience. The problem is, none of us speak up or we try to do it individually.
I just stopped taking their pills because I was 11 and they couldn't make me.
Well, I continued to take the pills till I was 17 and didn't realize what it was like to be able to have a brain until I was 17. Like I said, December 14th, 1997, that's when I got off the pills and was actually able to function. Before that, I'd literally been on pills since I was like 6 years old. Problem is, people want to tell me about their stories, but they don't want to do anything about it. So what good are their stories?
No, I mean, like, there's not a lot that one can do with something that was 20 plus years ago.
There's something that people absolutely can do about stuff that's continually ongoing, though. See, that's the difference between people telling me their stories of 20 years ago and the abuse I'm still enduring today. Like I said, I don't have any friends or family here. The people who claim to be my friends, they're not going to help me stop the abuse. How good of friends are they? A lot of people tell me they can't help, they got kids. Of course, when they want help, that's always their excuse why they need help. Well, I need help, I got kids. And I tell everybody, I don't care if you're my best friend of 20 years. Between you and a kid who's being abused, that kid matters more. And an at-risk child with no support becomes an at-risk adult with no support. All that results in is chronic abuse. When I'm telling people about my trauma and what I need help with, they get busy trying to talk me out of it or talk over me or talk about themselves. How they're too busy, they're too busy. A lot of people are no-call, no-shows. They like to say that they're going to do something. They don't show up. They don't nothing. And they don't stop to consider what it takes out of me to have to sit in a parking lot and wait for them all day. Or for people to say they'll talk to me soon instead of setting up a time in a day. Because for some people, soon means 6 years from now.
You seen Dallas today?
Nope. Didn't figure I would. Figure he's probably on the boat again. He'll be out anywhere from 4 to 6 days. He's got a bad habit of not returning calls, though. If he returns your call, you probably have something he wants. Like he was going to help me turn in the situation with Molly last year. But he didn't get back a hold of me. Didn't matter what I messaged to him. It wasn't until he came down here to the parking lot again and talked to me because he wanted to buy that kayak off of me. I saw Amanda today at the library. I forgot to tell her mom's looking for her. And I forgot to ask her if Dallas got that kayak to her. No?
Her mom found it.
That's good.
I gave her gas.
So that's what happened to the car? She ran out of gas?
Who's that? Amanda's car?
Yeah, the black one like this one.
No, it's an impound.
Yeah, I saw it up there. Why'd they impound it?
No license?
Ah. It's probably going to be expensive to get out, too.
It gets more expensive by the day.
Yep. Let me guess, $35 fee every day?
I'm not sure.
They did that to me while I was in jail in Arapahoe County. They wouldn't allow me my evidence in my car, wouldn't allow me to show any evidence or have any evidence shown. My public pretenders made absolutely zero effort to do anything. All they wanted me to do was plead guilty. They made all sorts of false promises to get me to do that. Did everything they could to prevent me from going to my court dates. And they did so knowingly, willingly, and illegally. But it doesn't make two fucks of a difference because none of these people, yourself included, give a shit about the consequences. Long term. How do I figure? I've tried to explain to you what's going on multiple occasions. Even set up the time to show up when you said to. But it turns into an argument about your opinions instead. Or you get stuck on one part, and then we both get stuck on that one part, because that's what you want to ask questions about. Well, that's one of the things about listening. If you watch the movie, you'll understand. If you read the book, you'll understand. If you want to ask for the Cliff Notes, you're going to miss a lot of important stuff. And when you talk over the Cliff Notes, you don't learn anything. When it comes to your experience in the foster care system, that does allow you to help out. It does allow you to understand, but that depends on if you use your voice or not. I use my voice for a lot of people. That girl in the Dalles, Oregon, Jamie, that got punched by the guy who claimed he was her brother. I was the only person out of all the people there who spoke up. I'm always the only one that speaks up. Everybody else makes excuses that they're too busy no matter what. Meanwhile, I'm still out here, still taking abuse, and it still costs me more money every month to exist than I make. I don't have any assistance out here. I have to make all my phone calls alone. When people claim that they're going to help me, they don't help me how I'm asking or how I need. They help based on their assumptions. And then they call a bunch of places to help me, apparently, but they have no proof that they called these places. So it's just hearsay if I take it to court. Oh, well, Chris told me this, and Chris told me that, and Chris said he was going to call this place, and he said he was going to call that place. Well, we can't take your word for it. Chris has to show up to tell us that. If you write a letter and I take it to them, even if it's got your phone number and signature, I get to deal with well, how do we know you didn't write that? Well, you could call him while I'm standing right here in front of you. You could verify at least that he's not me. Do you exist, Chris, or are you a figment of my imagination?
Not sure.
You're not sure.
Like what's really existing?
See, now you're getting philosophical and sloppy about it. Yes, you fucking exist, Chris. You're a real human being made of flesh and blood. When you open your mouth, I can hear the words coming out of your mouth. I'd say that makes you pretty real. I'm fairly certain that makes it so that you're not a figment of my imagination.
Christian sees people talking to him.
I'm not Christian.
I know. Has he been down here lately?
No. Apparently there's some people pissed off at him.
Oh, is it? Man,
Well, he's been running around smoking meth under a blanket on people's front porches. They tend to not like that. Even if they know you.
So,
You're going to tell me the story about the lady that kicked the shit out of him for smoking meth under a blanket next to where the soda machine's at. You already told me that story.
no. It wasn't that. There was something else. Oh. You know the night that Christian was parked there with the guy with the electric car?
No, but go ahead.
So Christian was parked there with the guy with an electric car. And I thought it was really weird. So I started following him around. And then they became very evasive. And then when I seen him again, I asked the guy where his wife was. And they became even more evasive.
Are you talking about the white Tesla?
It's not a Tesla, it's a BMW.
Not the same car then.
Right? So I continued following them and continued switching rigs on them to follow them. And
You don't consider that creepy ass stalker shit?
no, I think that Christian was being trafficked through his
Drug contact?
drugs and through his mental illness.
Well, obviously through his mental illness.
So I seen him.
But what is his mental illness? He's not mentally ill. He has actual diagnosis.
Okay.
He let me know what his diagnosis are.
Schizo.
Well, he says he's not schizophrenic, but he says he was diagnosed. He's definitely schizoaffective.
Yeah, schizoaffective. That's what my brother is.
Yep.
So, anyways, The next day I seen him and I was like, what were you doing with that guy? And he freaked out on me. He said it was none of my business. If you want to make money, you can make money.
Ah.
But he was 10 times as high the next day.
Ugh. All right, I've seen women go through this and I've seen men go through this. If a man's going through that, he's not gonna fucking give in for shit. Too much pride there.
He's not gonna say what he's doing.
He's not gonna say what he's doing.
But I'm pretty sure that's what's going on with Christian.
He's more than likely being exploited for his disabilities. I don't know about necessarily being trafficked, but definitely being used. The other thing is he's got his addictions. Those are a lot easier to play on than his mental problems.
Well, so like this BMW, I've only ever seen one other like it, right? And when I was talking to the guy, I was like, yeah, I seen your wife at the Shell station get gas. It has a 1.6 gallon gas tank. And he's like, what? I was like, yeah, it has a 1.6 gallon gas tank. He's like, how do you know that? And I was like, because she was telling the gas attendant in this car that she wanted 1.6 gallons of gas because that's all the car can make. That's when they left this part.
Well, I didn't get to charge up for long, but I did get your door closed. It was about 2 minutes late. The other thing is about the safety issues that I'm dealing with and the stuff from the past. It is all really important stuff. As far as Christian, if he's being trafficked, are you willing to talk to somebody about that?
I don't know, like, if it would be I don't know who would listen.
I would.
Yeah, you would listen.
Well, I've got some contacts that I can talk to about human trafficking, but I can't talk to them alone. Now, I can make sure that it's recorded for his safety, for your safety, and for mine. Also, if we make the call together, we're more likely to be heard.
Well, I also think there's something else with traffic.
Well, there's a few people here being trafficked. That's one of the things that resulted in me deciding to stay here the 1 month that I had the opportunity to leave. All the rest of it has been my money all goes to running around to these services to try to get heard. The reason I'm not heard is because I have to go in alone. Tomorrow I got to go talk to one of the business owners about finding out exactly what was taken, just because of some items that I was able to see recently that seems like something you'd take from a place like that, because that's the kind of stuff they sell. I just want to make sure that the stuff that I've seen is some of the stuff that was taken.
At the sporting goods?
One of the stores here. The good thing about every shop here being a specialty shop is that if somebody did steal something, it's pretty easy to tell which shop it came from. I know that if somebody stole something out of the coin op, if I see somebody with a bunch of quarters or a bunch of balls,
You're taking that ball machine out.
why?
Somebody put the vending machines in the car.
Well, what are you going to do with the ball machine? Don't put it in the garbage can. That thing's cool. It's also vintage. It's probably worth quite a bit of money.
I'll probably ask Jim, the old owner, if he wants it.
I recommend that. If he says no, put it on the internet. It's probably worth some money. Anyway, the point is, the stuff that I'm dealing with now, I can prove that the police outright lied, and so did my predators in every court date and on every police report. I can also prove that I was denied the right to make a police report in a timely and efficient manner. I can prove that I did, in fact and indeed, go to people for help, that I did run around all the services that I was told to, and that all of those services broke the law, most of them feloniously so. The problem is I don't get to tell people any of the details that are important because it ends up being story sharing time. Now with Christian, if he's being trafficked, just because of the other trafficking that's going on, it is a serious issue. Also, with a lot of the violence that's happened in town and everybody being real hush-hush about it, like you told me about a shooting that the only person I've heard about the shooting from is you. I've asked several people about it. They didn't hear nothing.
You have to do the Silco scanner on Facebook.
Tillamook Scanner on Facebook?
Yeah. It's where people post what they hear on a scanner.
Ah.
Quentin got shot twice on Third Street.
Quentin?
Yeah. He's a bully. He's just a fucking douchebag. Always has been.
So he's a douchebag and a bully who got shot.
Yeah.
Well, that's insider information. If you know him well enough to know that he's a douchebag and a bully, just so you know, I'm a douchebag and a bully. I bully bullies back. I also grab their attention when they're hurting people, like I did with Jamie and the Dows. See, that's the thing about the parking lot here, or anywhere else I happen to be. Part of keeping myself safe is making sure that people who are bullies in my area or vicinity are dealt with. It doesn't matter who they're bullying. If the police are going to tell me that I can't turn in crimes against somebody else, it's not just a crime against them. It makes me feel unsafe as well. When people are literally threatening to kill each other or threatening to kill me and I'm not allowed to do anything, but people are freaked out because I do this because I have Tourette's, or because I do this because I got Tourette's. Yeah, they're uncomfortable because I have Tourette's fucking syndrome. I didn't ask for that. I was born with it. Many of the things that are associated with autism are not autism traits. They're traits of severe trauma. Often and frequently ongoing trauma, which includes being the retard of the family, no matter how intelligent you are. Not being allowed to go do the other things that other people are allowed to do, because it's just assumed that you're an idiot. See, my dad used to brag about how intelligent I was until we went and saw a neurologist and he told my dad that I was autistic. My dad and I had a conversation about it and decided we just weren't going to go back to that doctor anymore because we didn't want that on my record. Because as soon as people find out you're autistic, they start treating you like a retard. And I'd grown up in the system with people like that. The thing is, what people see when they see me is they see a male. And a male should be able to do everything by himself and for himself. They completely ignore my disabilities or talk over them as if they don't exist. People tell me that they know everything about autism because they got a relative who's autistic. The point is, I am unsafe. The point is that the only times that I've had to break the law is when people's lives were at stake, and I only broke the law out of necessity. The other thing is, police officers and mandated reporters have not stopped committing felonies and misdemeanors against me, or ignoring my disabilities and exploiting them, pretending that they don't exist when it doesn't benefit them, and then pretending that my disabilities are some other disability when it benefits them. And that's not okay either. The thing is, if somebody was to listen to just one conversation with Marcia Estrada, that would be enough for most people with half a fucking brain to goddamn speak up. It's about 50 minutes long because it is a therapy session. It's one of many that I took in Nebraska. She's the only therapist that I saw long enough to diagnose schizophrenia. And she stated outright that I'm not. She states outright that I'm not delusional. She states outright that I don't have bipolar disorder. Now, these are the three things that police and the Bollingers' entire cases were built on. I am supposedly so mentally ill that I am too retarded to know what abuse is. But then I'm so intelligent magically that my disabilities disappear and I know exactly what abuse is. The thing is, my rights are denied because of the term mentally ill. They're not following their protocol or the laws, and it's easy to make them do that by going in, making sure it's recorded when it happens. I've recorded plenty, but I can't get people to look at it. I've had to record that stuff and the abuse that I have to go through when I go in alone. I've also recorded how it is when somebody else goes in with me. I have recorded every trick that they know. It's not just other people here telling me that these things are happening to them. It's also the fact that I caught them red-handed and have it recorded, and all of these people who are bitching about how fucked up it is could stop being fucking pussies and go in with me and we could do something about it, because unlike them, I saved the evidence. I recorded the evidence. So it doesn't get to be just their word versus mine, the way it is with the rest of these people who didn't record it. All of their stories of how the police have been treating them for years and years, I have evidence that they did in fact say those things, but not only that, I have the evidence that this is in fact and indeed how law enforcement and these mental health places are treating us. They're taking over $300 million that was apportioned to the state to help people to get unhomeless, and they're spending the majority of that to send us to therapy. Not case management, which is what we're sent to those places for. Not for mandated reporting, which is what we're sent to them for. No, what they want to do is the parts that drag it out and prevent us from turning in our predators in a timely and efficient manner. They just want to set us up for therapy 30 days out, and that is a felony. That right there is what makes it a felony. That's what makes it go from just the misdemeanor of them not doing their jobs as a mandated reporter to them being felons. A lot of the drug addicts that are out here who have done fucked up shit to me because they're in desperate situations. I understand that they're in desperate situations. I understand why they do that fucked up shit. But at the same time, they're being victimized by the same douchebags that I am. Meanwhile, I don't have the benefit of having a bunch of tweakers that I've known since kindergarten to go to. If I piss off one of these fucking tweakers, I might have to worry about 8 to 10 of them making my life a living hell. And I've gone through that before. I had to go through that in the Dalles. I had to go through that in Hood River. People tell me if I would have shut up, it never would have happened. And that is bullshit. If I'd have kept my mouth shut, a lot of those people up there being abused would have been abused a lot more. And if the people that I told, because I did go to the right people, had actually listened to me, we could have put a stop to that the day that it happened. But just like here, nobody has time. And so they don't work together. They're too busy being selfish and focusing on them and only them. And the only person out here who's actually looking out for the most important people on this fucking rock, the children, is me. A lot of these people are so strung out on fucking drugs they shouldn't even have their kids. Please don't tell me you're strung out on drugs.
No, I don't do drugs. I was just looking at shit. I don't do drugs. I haven't done drugs in like 5 years. Today's the 28th.
Hey, you know what it's called when you're sent to prison and there's no evidence to convict you on? It's called false arrest. For the amount of time that I spent in prison, the state of Nebraska will pay me up to $7 million. You know how many people you could save with $7 million? You know how much property you could get that homeless people could put their fucking tents on for $7 million?
Then they would outlaw tents.
Yep.
This is the new norm down there now?
Do what?
This is the new norm down there now?
The fireworks? No. But it will be until the 4th.
It's illegal.
I don't think they fucking care. I really don't.
What?
I don't think they care if it's illegal. The thing is that I always end up having conversations with people when I need them to take the situation seriously. I can't get into housing because of the situation in Nebraska with housing. The housing is nationwide. When they try to pawn me off on something like that, instead of allowing me an interview room where I can sit down and write my police report and get it done and over with, for them to postpone it for 30 days for me to go to therapy, and then postpone it another 30 days for another therapy, and another 30 days for another therapy. I went to 5 therapy sessions at TCCHC and they didn't do shit. The problem is, I have to go to these places alone. I have to talk to them alone. I need somebody to explain the safety issue because I won't be allowed to explain it. I'll be talked over. They will take advantage of my disabilities. With your experience with the system, you know how not to be a fucking fucktard. You know the tricks. You'll recognize most of it immediately if you look at it. When you say you'll be here at 8, though, I've made sure that I was here every time you said you'd be here at 8. Most of the time, you're not able to show up until a little after 8, sometimes closer to 9:30.
That was because I was working in Dallas.
Yep, and I'm aware of that, and I don't hate you for it. I know that that stuff happens, but also people are not forgiving when that stuff happens with me. I'm treated horribly by people who want me to understand every time they have something come up. What they don't understand is that it overwhelms me that literally everybody does that. That I've never had a friend or family member that I could go to when I was abused and have them take it serious then and there and help it turn it in. That results in long-term abuse. There's also the stuff about autism, like being completely overwhelmed by the environment. No matter how much I explain that to people, they completely blip over it as if I didn't say it, or they tell me they understand and then continue to make suggestions that ignore that fact. If I'm not able to do something, or if I'm not able to function in public, which is literally what I'm having to deal with, then making it so that I'm not stuck in public is the best thing. But when there's situations like with housing, once I'm in housing, I still need somebody to do that job. When I was in Chapel, Nebraska, I finally got housing. And after I got housing, I still didn't have a caseworker. So I was in housing having to go to a lady who was supposed to be an autism advocate who wasn't advocating.
Say, this whole month, I'm gonna be at the car wash all month.
Yep. And with my construction experience, I could definitely help if I didn't have a fucked up back. That's where most of my experience is in construction. Did a lot of roofing, did a lot of tree cutting. And I say tree cutting because I wasn't an arborist and I wasn't a logger. We took down shit with a high line. Most of the time I was the lumper. I was the ground guy. It's not easy work, but that's what my experience is in. With my special interests, I can't do anything from inside of my car. I can't stem in my car without fear of someone harming me. The things that help me to calm down, I don't have access to. My video games, those help me. But then people who want to get involved in watching Game of Thrones every night with incest and murder and all that shit, they don't understand how traumatic that is for somebody like me who's had to live through a lot of that horrible shit. No, I never had dragons come and melt my house. But I've been through hell in my lifetime and seen too many goddamn corpses. There's also the fact that when you're autistic, people they tend to talk over you like you're retarded and like you don't know what abuse is, like you don't understand what help you need because you're a retarded person. What I need is a friend or family member to speak up and say how wrong this is. But how can I do that when they're busy trying to make suggestions and jump through hoops that don't help? Or sending me to call places that I've already called alone. That's the problem. I have to do it alone. As an autistic person, that's not going to work. They're going to use the term mentally ill, and they're going to ignore everything that I say and everything that I have to show. Then I don't have a place to process it because of constant noises. When there's them youngins down here starting that shit, or when Christian shows up all fucked up, it could take me up to 24 hours to be able to process anything after that, because that's how scary it is when Christian gets like that. When I have to worry about telling any of these addicts no, because they're going to fucking flip shit if I do. And most of them do. Immediately upon hearing the word no, it's a fuck you, you're a this, or you're a that. Or Christian, like the day that he was trashing stuff over there. I was just glad that he didn't throw anything through a fucking window. Because I told him no.
Well, I really have to go home here too.
Alright, go home and go to sleep.
I'm gonna be up at 6 a.m.
Well, thank goodness it's not 4. You're going to need that sleep. Now that's Chris. Chris Stafford. I tell him how mean I am. I tell him I say all sorts of horrible shit on the internet. I tell him he should probably listen to the videos. I've even told him, hey man, if you heard those videos, you probably wouldn't talk to me. Shit. I just dropped the other half of my cigarette. And I don't want to open the door because I puke. And I don't want it falling out into the puke. Well, looks like I lost it anyway. Yep, it's mixed in with the trash on my floorboard. Oh well. I guess I didn't need it that bad anyway. When an at-risk adult is being abused, you need to help them turn it in immediately before they become a target for your tax dollars. All of these therapy places that are committing Medicare and Medicaid fraud against us when we're supposed to go to them as mandated reporters. Chris knows how fucked up it is. Ashley knows how fucked up it is. Robert knows how fucked up it is. Jim Roberts knows how fucked up it is. Many of these addicts know how fucked up it is. Brian knows how fucked up it is. Even that lady from the hospital, Nicole Vertner, talks about how fucked up it is, while showing why it's fucked up. The same thing with Marcia Estrada. She admits to how fucked up it is, while contributing to the reason why it's that fucked up. Caitlin Tatum admits how fucked up it is, while taking part in the reason that it's so fucked up. Mandated reporter after mandated reporter talking about how fucked up it is. Meanwhile, we tell the cops that. The cops blow us over like we're making it up, like we're crazy. And of course, mandated reporters, it's not just Marcia Estrada of Scottsbluff, Nebraska. It's not just the security guard and the nurse at the hospital in Hood River. It's not just Nicole Vertner of Tillamook, Oregon. It's not... Alright, what's that lady's name? It's not just Danelle Boggs of Tillamook, Oregon. Although all of these people have spoken up about how horrible it is, about how it doesn't work effectively. Many of them spoke about how they were afraid to lose their jobs if they spoke up. Also, these professionals all know and do have to admit to the fact that the most important part of their job is the mandated reporter part. It's just unfortunate for them that part of their job doesn't get them paid extra money from the government. Sending them to therapy 30 days away will get them extra money for the government. If they can say that you're on drugs, then they can get almost twice as much out of you. Meanwhile, they're not doing anything about the abuses we're telling them about. They're trying to deter us and defer us to others. The same as our quote-unquote friends and family do. The problem is nobody takes it seriously. I take things very seriously. As far as the trafficking goes, if Chris legit cares enough about Christian enough that he's going to change vehicles and stalk him like a creeper, legit believes that he's being human trafficked, that is something that needs to be looked into. Now, Chris said that he's not on mood stabilizers. He hasn't taken pills since he was 11. He grew up in the system too. But explaining to people that their voices do matter, but only if they use them, well, many people are used to having to stand alone. Many of us who are poor, we have to stand alone, especially if we're male. Now, if you've got a family that loves you, they'll try to understand. If you've got a family like mine, well, your mom just wanted normal kids. And she's going to feel sorry for herself because she didn't have normal kids. That's because my mom thought my sister showed up dressed like a freak, with her shofar and stuff like that. And the people at her church even tried pushing the mentally ill thing because my sister got so into the religious thing. Well, if she's more diehard about the religion than you are, and she takes it more seriously than you do, And you want to call her mentally ill for it? Well, obviously you aren't the faithful few that you claim to be. You pretending to believe in God is not a mental illness, but when somebody actually is so obsessed with the Almighty that they actually believe in the Almighty, you call them mentally ill. That's really a scream for help to all of us, isn't it? That's a real show of the Almighty being a true and loving and benevolent leader and God, and so on and so on and so on, right? See, here's the thing about your God. How you believe in God is reflected by your behaviors, by your choices, and by your actions. I don't worship a God, and I don't worship humanity either. I don't worship at all. That's the great thing about my religion. My religion is science. Science is not unchanging. The way things are is the way things are. Science is our way of explaining it. A way of explaining it beyond wives' tales. But then, the only parts of autism that you care about are things that are only true for low-functioning autistic people. And only some of them. Now, Chris, the things that he wanted to focus on, oh, absolutely. That is definitely up my alley for catching SOBs like that. I am not down with human trafficking. And I don't care what color the victim is. I don't care what gender the victim is. I don't care if you're heterosexual, homosexual, bisexual, non-sexual. You're still a human being. Y'all got a bad habit of making a martyr out of a molehill. You like the way I said that? Anyway, good to be with you. Thanks for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper and your sister's keeper too. And no victim left behind. I get that Chris Stafford is busy. Everybody's busy. But what that leaves me is in limbo. In a state of perpetual neglect and abuse. Because people don't want to stop to understand how being abused systemically affects the entire future. And look how long it took these cowards, these bastards, to gaslight me into doing something that they could pretend makes me evil. After almost 2 years of threats, I finally threatened somebody back. You didn't care how many people threatened me, you just didn't give a shit and still don't. But if I do it back, you show your hypocrisy in wanting to lynch me and wanting to destroy all of my evidence. I didn't choose your cowardice or complacency. We the people mean. And yeah, it's real easy to sucker me when you got kids. Yes, I care more about your kids than I care about you, and I don't care who you are. When, Amy Kalina Kingery's kids were being so horribly behaved there, at Rayanne Ingersoll's. Were they bad kids? No, they were kids rebelling against a very, very abusive environment. Rayanne Ingersoll's was a very abusive environment. It was in a RV park. The people who were staying there, other than about 10 or 15 people that pretty much live there year round, well, through an entire season, because they do close it down for part of the year. But other than them, most of the people that are through there, they're staying there maybe 2-3 days max, because there isn't shit there. There's a hot springs an hour and a half away. Other than that, it's pretty just flat. No fucking trees anywhere. It's hot. And it stays hot because there's no shade. With those girls being abused at home, and then being abused by Rayanne Ingersoll, and I wasn't being heard. I was being blown off as if it was no big deal. Well, it is a big deal. You got an alcoholic beating on fucking children. That's a very big deal. And I don't care who you are. If you're going to tell me to look the other way to that, you're sick.